Hadley, thank you for joining us as we talk about this series about the repatriation of my late brother Basil February's mortal remains, which was repatriated from Bulawayo, Zimbabwe, to South Africa. Can you briefly introduce yourself and explain your position in the Western Cape government and your position in the Premier's office?
So my name is Hadley Blake. I'm the Deputy Director for Ceremonial and Logistical Management within the Department of the Premier, specifically assigned to what we call Cabinet Services, and that reports directly to the Director General and to the Premier.
Yeah.
So my job is to sort out events, but also to do official funerals, and of which Basil was honoured.
Yes.
With an official funeral.
Yeah. How did you first learn about Basil February and his history? Did you learn anything before the repatriation process kicked in?
So it's funny, you know, back in my youth, you would hear these stories of a Basil February. When I was in high school, outside of high school, you heard this name Basil February, but no,
yes.
I could not necessarily put a finger on who is Basil February. Mm-hmm. But the name was always there, and
right.
who this Basil February was. Mm-hmm. In terms of a soldier. And you'd always hear it, and I think, okay, Basil February, another name. Yet little did I know that once everything started to evolve, and as I started to work, I got to know through
yes.
Guy Redmond and the department what was actually going on.
Before becoming involved in this repatriation project, what was your understanding of Basil's legacy? I guess you touched on that previously here, but when that news came to you that you now need to get involved with this particular process, you know, how did you receive that?
So immediately what happened was I think the HOD or Carol phoned me and said, listen, we're going to be repatriating Basil February. Carol van Wyk.
Yeah.
We're going to be repatriating Basil February. And it's amazing how the penny dropped. I know that name. I immediately started to do research.
Okay.
And to find out now who was Basil, and then everything started to. So this whole sense of, it's almost like I would say deja vu, going back, saying I experienced this somewhere, and then actually going to do something for this
yes.
guy called
Basil February.
Yeah. So it was an exciting time for me.
Okay. So how did you get actually directly involved in the repatriation process?
So I was called by Guy Redmond and Carol van Wyk and Michael to say, listen, we're doing a repatriation, and the President has indicated that Basil qualifies for what we call a special provincial funeral.
So, sorry for interrupting. So that discussion took place on the basis of putting the official handover to the family from the Western Cape government.
So the minute it triggered was it in Pretoria?
Yes.
The minute that happened in Pretoria.
With national government.
It then clicked over to us.
Okay.
And it was then said, well, if that is happening there, the honor should come to as a or a Western Cape citizen.
Yes.
we should look at honoring the man Basil February.
Yeah, but what I'm getting to is that the repatriation process was managed from Guy Redmond's office,
Correct.
the Department of Sports and Culture. Where you came directly involved was addressing the official handover.
The official handover.
Of that. So I would assume it was a bit further down the line because you would have been briefed when Basil's remains was about to come into the country and the official handover, or did it happen way before that?
So I think the preparation started when we heard he's being repatriated.
Okay, all right.
And then what we did was we started to follow the process. So that is when I started to get involved in saying, well, he's going to be moved from where he was to South Africa,
Yes,
and then from Pretoria to Cape Town.
Cape Town.
So somewhere in mid-flight, we started with the preparations to receive his remains.
A government proposed a state funeral with military honors.
So, okay, I want to, when you say government, was it national government?
National government.
So national government would declare, but it wouldn't necessarily be a state funeral. It would be because he's coming to the province, it would have been declared a provincial funeral. Because a state funeral, there's certain categories
Okay.
who qualify for a state funeral.
Yeah.
So Basil qualified for a special provincial funeral. He was declared a distinguished person.
Okay.
So that then comes not necessarily, because the military honors was given by the president
That happened
in Pretoria.
in Pretoria.
Correct.
At Waterkloof.
At Waterkloof. And then when he came to the province,
So from there was the protocol and the procedure a handover from National to the Western
To
Cape
the
government?
Western Cape
Okay,
government.
right.
so they're handing it over, and then we take
Yes.
we take ownership of Basil.
Yes.
And there wasn't, I don't think there was ever a doubt that he would be honored in that way
Yes.
from the province's side.
Yes.
And so he then qualified for a special provincial official funeral,
Yes.
which is a category 2.
Yes.
And in there, it says with elements of police
Okay.
ceremonial procedures.
Yes.
So we can choose, we can pick what we wanted.
Okay. So in that particular aspect, our family had specific
Yeah.
expressions and requirements. So specifically on the handover, we decided to keep it as low profile as possible, and that we didn't want to have the police involved,
Pomp and ceremony.
and that the handover should be a private ceremony as possible. And we've also requested minimal media involvement with that. The challenge that the family then faced was, but part of the official handover to the family would be the handover of the flag, the national flag, to the family. And at the time, because of our family wishes, I was prepared not to receive the flag. But that is where you intervened and made a request to come and see us. And lo and behold, I mean, the understanding that I had around the protocols were, I must say, zero, or close to zero for that matter. So it was highly appreciated when you came to see our family and explain. And what was then finally agreed to, in my view and our family view, was absolutely beautiful, Hadley. And if you can explain my misunderstanding that I had and the wishes that I had, and how you have addressed that so that the outcome could be as beautiful as it was on the day of the handover and the funeral.
So, you know, when to be honest, I made up my mind to come and see you, and I thought, yeah, I'm really going to probably hit a brick wall here, because I also heard when we spoke on the phone, some of your
Yes.
wishes. And you know, when I read up about Basil and what he did and who he was and all those kind of things, the family history, it's funny how those things influence the way you explain something to a family.
Okay.
And I'm not saying just your family, any family. And you know, for me, it was more of Basil's love for his country.
Indeed, yeah.
And how better to honor him by saying, you know, sir, we acknowledge you by presenting this flag to you. Thank you, sir. We salute you for what you've done. And I think that was the message I kind of brought through to you.
Yes.
To say, the flag, for me, I'm extremely passionate about the South African flag, what it signifies. No matter what this country is going through, there's this flag of hope.
Yeah.
And that for me was, I tried to explain that to you.
Yeah.
To say, you know, forget all, or try to forget and think what your brother would have wanted. Would he have wanted you to hold that flag? Yes, I believe he would have.
Indeed, he would have, yes.
And said,
You're right.
you know, I fought hard for this. And that was the kind of messaging I would want to have brought through to you. And in some cases, I thought, well, I do know I got it right. So, yeah, I think that in a nutshell, I don't know if I'm answering your question, but that's just the way
No, indeed. But you also very clearly explained, because of the military process that occurred at Waterkloof, that process have already occurred and that recognition took place.
And there's to follow through now.
And has to follow through.
Correct.
And as a result, you said to me, even though we don't want his coffin draped with the flag here at the Western Cape, provincial government hand over to the family
We can still use the flag.
that was used in Pretoria, and then fold that appropriately. And then you very kindly suggested to us that when that flag is then folded, you will have it framed for us. And that was that was quite significant for us as we prepared ourselves for the provincial handover, and also for the funeral. There was, during the exhumation where I was present of Basil's remains in Bulawayo, there was during the exhumation, there was the discovery of a label that was apparently on the coffin of Basil, and the label read Paul Peterson, which was Basil's MK name when he took the oath of MK. Paul Peterson, meaning that Paul was my late father's name and Peterson was my mother's maiden surname. So when that was found during the exhumation, everybody was focused and said, this is the right spot where Basil is buried. And I was kindly given permission to have that tag. Now, during my discussion with you, you then suggested to me that you can also have that framed with a national order that was bestowed on Basil a few years before. And that national order with that tag was then also framed by you, which you suggested to us and we agreed upon. And on the day of the funeral, or protocols observed, as you've explained to me, the flag framed and folded in the military format with Basil's National Order of Mendi, with that tag also framed, stood either side of his coffin. And that for me was such a powerful presentation of Basil's homecoming. It was absolutely significant, dignified, and in a manner that our family could not have visualized beforehand. But it all came together with your assistance. So yeah, we were so grateful, and we're so thankful for the way you have managed that entire process so kindly, so diplomatically.
Thank you.
And it just came together so beautifully on the day. And today, in our home, those two framed items hang very proudly. And it always, without fail, generate interesting discussion. So thank you for that.
Pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to tell you quickly, I want to tell you the story. That
Yes,
little tag.
That little tag.
You know, that was one of the highlights, I think, of me meeting the February family.
Yeah, I had to hand that tag over to you for framing.
You did. And
Yes.
I said, wow, yeah, I'm sitting with a piece of history here. And there was a lot of pressure from my colleagues to say, there must be acetone stuff and a whole mixture, otherwise it's going to disintegrate. I guarded the thing with my life, told colleagues not to come in close proximity of me. And the story is that I only brought that tag to the framers once they were ready to put the tag in.
Yes.
And, well, the rest you just said now. The tag is in, Paul Peterson displayed proudly in your home.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So I look at that often. And yeah, often the discussion generated from that is, how would Basil look at the situation in South Africa today, having paid with his life? And for me, the response to that is very simple. He would have challenged fiercely. He would have challenged fiercely. And that's how he was, and that's how he died, And the history of Basil in the ANC, in the camps, the history of Basil at UCT, he ruffled feathers at UCT. He was a fierce debater. In the political terrain here in the Western Cape, even at home, he would constantly challenge, seeking clarification. In the camps, I'm told he was a fierce debater, highly disciplined, brutally honest. And I think that would have come through the situation today. And what I've expressed here, I have seen in my commander when I was in MK in the late Chrisani. A fierce debater, brutally honest man, very focused, highly disciplined, And it is now history what happened to Chrisani. Hadley, how important was it for you to balance your official protocol with the family wishes? Because the wishes that I brought through, you indicated earlier on that when you first met us, you thought you're going to hit a brick wall. How important was it for you to balance that protocol with the family wishes? Before you answer that, I'll tell you from my point of view, because my approach was, before you arrived that night, I was going to stand strong on the wishes. And whatever you were going to bring was going to be very difficult to accommodate. However, you listened very tentatively to our wishes. And like I said, very diplomatically, you brought your proposal forward, which embraced our wishes. It didn't mean that we had to shift ours, but it was so beautifully done.
So let me, this is what protocol is one thing. It's a set of rules.
Yes,
I won't say they can be broken, but what I can say is we can negotiate.
yeah,
In terms of a funeral, I believe that the family comes first. And knowing what you guys have gone through, those kind of wishes we have to accommodate.
yeah,
It is then my job to make sure and say, I go and negotiate on your behalf. To say, this is the family's wish. It is a non-negotiable. These are the things that must happen as your aid.
yeah, yeah,
And that's exactly what we did. And I believe that the decisions that I took was good ones.
yeah, I agree.
Because it had to accommodate you.
Yes,
When I came to talk to you guys, I could see and I could feel the hurt. Not only the hurt, but also the joy
yeah,
of the hurt of what had happened and the period to the joy
Yeah.
that he's back home.
yeah,
And how do you honor that?
yeah,
And that was it was almost like it was me honoring him and your family to say, if this is what you want, this is what you're going to get.
yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think also, you referred earlier on about the negotiating process, but the way you presented, keeping our family wishes in mind, nullified the negotiating process.
Yeah.
Because once I've listened to it and I applied my mind, the presentation and the proposal that you made was so beautiful. Absolutely beautiful and highly appreciated, yeah.
Thank you.
Beautiful. If you look back on the official handover, if you look back on the funeral on the day, is there anything that stands out for you if we look back at this particular process? Like I said, from the Western Cape government official handover to our family, and then finally the day of Basil's burial of his mortal remains. Looking back in that, is there anything that stands out for you?
Look,
on that?
I don't know if you can say it's something that stood out, but it was more about me doing it for this person called Basil February. To see the family celebrate, and knowing that he's now home, that was my satisfaction, to see that.
So I guess it leads into my concluding question with you. How is it that you would hope, having walked this journey with us, with our family, how is it that you would hope future generations remember Basil?
If you read about Basil, if you read the things that were written about Basil, if you read also and hear your kind of stories, and I hope that those stories continue, not as a folk story, but as actual inspiration to youth. for me, what I take out of Basil February's life is that the war is not over. You need to keep on fighting. He's handed over a baton.
Yes.
He's handed maybe over to you, and you're going to hand it over to your son, and
Yeah.
your son must hand it. But not only in the family, it has to, that baton needs to go wherever
Yes.
it is needed to give people hope and inspiration to, no matter what the circumstances, keep on fighting.
Yeah.
It might not happen in your time, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But the thing is, keep on fighting.
I think also to remember on that particular point, Hadley, is that, Basil was young when he died.
Correct.
So when we talk about Basil February, he died as a 24-year-old, He became politically very, very active from the age of 17, very active. When he was imprisoned twice before he went into exile, he was but 19 years old, So when we talk about a Basil February, we're talking about the life of a very young individual. Hence, my question is, how would you see the youth of today? Because Basil was in his youth, We're not talking about an old person here. How would the youth of today remember Basil, given the challenges that our youth face today? The challenges are very different, but they are still in their youth. Here is a person that if you look at his history, if you read his history, you may think that he was in his 40s, 50s, or 60s. No, far from it. He was really slap bang in his youth. So the question I always ask about, how do we propose the youth of today remember him? And how are they influenced by his memory?
That is a very, very difficult question.
The question is not difficult. The response
The
may
response,
be.
yeah, the response is difficult because, Basil's generation and this generation, I would say, are all miles and miles apart.
Correct.
But in the same breath, Basil was like you said, he was a fierce debater. How do the youth, without using any violence and whatever, how does the youth engage with anybody? Let us engage and hear what the youth has got to say.
And also something, that comes to mind as you're talking now. Apologies for the
No.
interruption. Basil was a fierce debater. He loved discussion. But it is on the background. He also read a lot. I shared a room with Basil, and our room was always full of books, and he read extensively. So, his ability to debate came from a platform of knowledge.
So this is what I was going to say.
And he also wrote a lot.
How do we encourage youth
Yes.
to read and become that?
Yes.
This is a sponge for knowledge,
Yes.
which sadly has, you'll see most of the kids walking around with phones, and even adults do it now. But how do we encourage youth to become more knowledgeable about whatever, be it doesn't have to be necessarily be politics, but whatever.
Indeed.
And then start to engage. Again, I'm saying it's a tough question to ask, or a tough question to ask, and an even tougher question to answer, because there are so many factors currently that influence the youth.
I think if you ask, based on the question that I asked, when you let that sink in, you start identifying the challenges simply by absorbing that question. You start identifying the challenges, because then it starts revealing itself.
Maybe there should be a national dialogue with youth.
But it clearly opens the aspect of the challenges that are faced. With reference to the national dialogue, I was highly impressed with some of the youth that were given a platform under difficult circumstances to express themselves.
Correct.
That, for me, the brief moments revealed speaking truth to power. And that was encouraging.
Hence I threw, because I watched part of that little youth thing. The stuff that's coming out there makes you think,
Yes, indeed.
you know, is the youth just simply fed up with everything and wanting change the way they would want to see change?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's again, I'm putting it out there, national dialogue with the youth.
Yes, indeed, indeed, indeed. Hadley, on that note, I think it's an interesting note to end on. Given our challenges in the country today, I'm encouraged by some of the youth that I've seen expressing themselves, socially addressing some of the issues, confronting our economic situation and justices. But ultimately, for me to say some of the youth standing up and speaking truth to power is encouraging. So I thank you for joining us in this discussion. And again, on behalf of our family, to you, thank you so much for your assistance and for really concluding the repatriation process and the reburial of Basil's mortal remains to make it really significant and with a huge touch of special dignity for our family. Thank you so much.
It was my pleasure and my honor to have done it for you.
Thank you, Hadley. Thank you so much.
Thank you.